What is up, legends? It's Mark here. We're going to be talking about how I would rebuild my bulletproof mindset in 90 days. The first thing that you need to understand regarding mindset is that it's not about habits. It's not about what you do. It's not even about how you think. Your mindset is 100% about who you are, which is just another way to say your identity. You read anything about psycho-cybernetics, about the self-image, the power of how you view yourself in reality, you always act in accordance with your self-image, which means you always act in accordance with your identity. Nobody really sets out to change their mindset. They want some kind of change in their life, and they're smart enough to realize that that begins with the mindset. But the reason that you're in the circumstances that you are right now, the reason that your reality is what it is because of your identity. There is zero other reason, because every action you take, every thought that you have can all be stemmed and traced back to your identity. So if you want to change your life, you have to start with changing your fucking self. No amount of habits, addiction hacking, fucking YouTube video binging is gonna fix your bullshit fucking life. The only thing that's gonna fix it is fixing yourself first. It always has to start with your identity every single fucking time. So that's the first kind of principle that you need to understand here. This is also how you actually get habits to stick, is you begin at the identity level, because what you may not realize is builds your identity would be your belief system. Everybody has a belief system in their life. The only difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is unsuccessful people let everybody else determine their belief system. Everybody else except for their fucking self. So what do I mean by that? Well, from the time that we're born, the world is shaping us through a process called socialization. Immediately when we're born, we're surrounded by parents, typically the mother most frequently. And what happens with all these early interactions stemming from the time that you're born until you're 25 fucking years old, your beliefs about the world are being warped, because there isn't actually such thing as a good or bad belief. There's only beliefs that either move you closer to your goals or move you away from your goals. Those are the only types of beliefs that you have. So to say like you have a bad belief doesn't really actually exist. You could have an empowering belief, you could have a limiting belief, but a limiting belief is just something that keeps you from achieving your goals, whereas a empowering belief rockets you towards your goals. And here's the great part about your belief system. And by the way, the whole piece that I just said about your identity, in order to create the identity, you have to create your beliefs. This is what builds your identity. Your identity is a series of beliefs that typically for most people is just created by their own natural experience in their environment, but you can manually override all the bullshit beliefs that you have in your brain. This is especially true for the people listening to this right now that grew up in a household that embodied the scarcity mindset. The scarcity fucking mindset, aka the brokey mindset. You know, any money that you make, what do you do with it? You save it. You don't invest it, you save it. Investing is risky. Saving your money is safe. Spending money on things that are expensive, it's stupid, and it's only for rich people. And rich people are evil, right? Rich people are fucking evil. They make all that money just for themselves. These are all the bullshit beliefs that have probably been baked into your brain from the time that you were young enough to understand and comprehend words. We are shaped so much by our parents, by our friends, by society, and especially now for all you young cunts in the fucking chat, shaped by media, not by traditional media, because you guys all know that's bullshit. You know, CNN, Fox, it's all just a bunch of fucking bullshit. But you would be fucking retarded if you believe that you're immune to being socialized and to being propagated by bullshit on social media. Social media is the mainstream media for the younger generations. For my generation, for Gen Alpha, I think is the one underneath me. I don't know. But for all you young guys, you are also still being warped. You have to understand that you have way less control over your beliefs than you think you do. That's why this piece is so fucking important. If you don't change your beliefs, then you're just going to have beliefs installed from elites, people above you, governments, propaganda. And that's not what you want, right? We all know that's not what you want. So, building beliefs. How do you actually do it? Well, let's take a step back. How were the beliefs built that you have right now? Number one is just through straight up repetition, a ton of reps. You didn't just hear, your mom or your dad say one thing and then immediately assume that belief to be true. It was affirmed over and over again, over days, weeks, months, years. And this is actually done through a process, if you want to get a little bit scientific, it's done through a process called myelination. Myelination is the sheathing of your neuron connections together so that connections can happen faster. And so when you're going through the process of skill acquisition, the term of myelination becomes very, very relevant, but it's also relevant to building your belief system, because the more that you do it, the more myelin sheaths you are wrapping around your neurons to make the connections happen faster, which means you're just putting a belief down in your brain and then just cementing it with concrete over and over and over and over again. So repetition is the first piece. And then the second piece, because beliefs, where do they live? Do beliefs live in your conscious brain or your subconscious brain? In your subconscious brain. They operate below your level of conscious thought. And how do you influence the subconscious brain? You can't just speak logic into the subconscious brain. Subconscious brain does not understand logic, but what it does understand is repetition and emotion. So to build a belief yourself, you have to have repetition, which means repeating it over and over and over again. You have to have emotion associated with it, which one of my favorite people in the space, Joe Dispenza, calls installing the neurological hardware. You're basically telling your brain and your body that this belief is happening and we're embodying it before it actually happens, if that makes sense. That's where the whole law of attraction kind of stems from, is if you visualize it, you attach emotion, you have repetition, that you're actually creating the connections in your brain, and you're creating them in reality in the quantum field before they actually unfold and happen for yourself. And then of course the third piece here, so you have repetition, emotion. The third piece is just going to be to act in accordance, because as much as all the law of attraction people love to just dance around doing the fucking work, you do have to do the fucking work. And that comes with your mindset too. You don't think and grow rich. You don't literally only think and then get rich. You think to install the neurological hardware in your subconscious brain, and then you act. You take fucking action. And action, by the way, that doesn't fucking mean sitting on YouTube and watching how-to videos. That doesn't mean going on Twitter and binging all the ecom posts all on there. What it actually means is sitting down, creating shit yourself, creating ads yourself, creating funnels yourself, writing copy, honing your fucking craft. That's what acting in accordance actually is. Don't brainwash yourself. Don't give yourself the illusion that you're being productive when you're just researching shit. That's not productivity. That is procrastination disguised as productivity. Okay, so building belief systems is how you build your identity, and we always act in accordance with our identity. So what could be some beliefs that you could install here that would get you towards your goals? Well, you got to know what your goal is first. Maybe your goal is to become a millionaire in the next 12 months, right? If that's the case, what are some beliefs that you could install that would get you closer to achieving that goal? I'll give you one of mine that I used to say all the time. Truthfully, I still say pretty frequently. If you want to write a statement to build your beliefs, follow this formula. I'm the type of person that. So I'll tell you guys a little story. When I was in college, I was in the process of building my mindset. I was listening to a lot of mindset content just to keep my mind positive, because I was not in a positive place at the time. I was in a shitty fucking situation. I was broke. I was in debt. I hated the way that I looked. Nothing was really going that well for me at the time. But still, I repeated this thing over and over and over again because I felt like it really spoke to me. You want these beliefs that you write, that you create, to be uniquely yours. You want them to be yours. You want to own them. You want them to speak to you. I remember one when I was starting out was, I'm the type of person that always makes financially responsible decisions. This one was directly relating to money, because I was like, I feel like my beliefs around like mindset and like mental toughness are pretty good, but I'm still not making fucking money. So I need to adjust those beliefs in my mind. That's one of the ones I created. Another one that I had is I'm the type of person that always does what he says, even when it's really fucking difficult. This one is just straight up your say-do ratio. This is your level of integrity. And this one is incredibly important to me. Ultimately, this is going to depend on you. Whether you want to be a millionaire, whether you want to be a fucking successful musician, an author, define the goal and then build the beliefs that are in alignment with actually achieving that goal. Let's move on to the next step, okay? We have the identity. We have the belief system that is now building the identity, which means what's going to follow? What happens before we ever take any action? Well, before we take any action, you have to think, which means your belief systems are now going to be shaping your thoughts and emotions. And the reason I put thoughts and emotions together is technically emotions would actually be first, because if you think of the way the human brain is developed over time, we developed the innermost part of our brain first. Like evolutionarily speaking, we developed our limbic system, our fight or flight responses before the prefrontal cortex that is more associated with decision making, control, shit like that. So way before you think, you typically have emotions. That's why a lot of emotionally immature people, they're not acting based off of logical, linear, left brain thoughts. They're operating off of their emotion. But either way, your emotions and your thoughts are going to be what ultimately build your actions and your behavior. This is the map right here. This is the map. You know you have to start with the identity because you always act in accordance with your identity. So you see how the very last thing here is your actions, the last thing for a reason, because if you always act in accordance with your identity, you always act in accordance with your identity. And the only way to build your identity is to have good beliefs. Everything just comes down to beliefs. Like having a good identity comes down to beliefs. Beliefs are what shape your thoughts and emotions, and you act based off your thoughts and emotions. So if you want to change your actions, your behaviors, your habits, which is ultimately going to change the outcome that you have in your life. Like if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're jacked, if you're skinny, if you're athletic, if you're lazy, it's all going to be the belief system that builds your identity. Before you doom scroll another video, I put together this free doc that breaks down the entire system that I would use if I was starting from 0 and I wanted to get to 1K per day. It's got 3 things, okay? Product, funnel, and an ad. That is it. Same system that I use across my own brands that have done multiple 8 figures. In this document, I literally break down how to find proven products, the margin rules, the exact funnel setup, ad strategy, all of it. Spoon fed to you step by step, exactly how you like it, all right? You don't need experience. You don't need a team. I wrote it all out so that even if you've never sold anything online, you can follow it, all right? It's completely free. Click the first link in the description. My gift to you. Enjoy.